Hello, everyone. This is the Human Extinction Committee, and I'm Daniel, and I will be showing you guys our game, Kill Everything as Fast as Possible. This is our final sprint review, and we'll be going over all the stuff that we did this semester, what went right and what went wrong, and everything we did. So, as a gameplay summary, Kill Everything as Fast as Possible is a first-person roguelike boomer shooter game where you have to kill as many enemies as possible in an arena with limited time. If you die or run out of time, you start over and build a new loadout to get as far as possible.
Our sprint statistics was 433 points completed, which is 61% of our backlog. Our ideal velocity was 101, our actual velocity was 61.8, and there was 300 cars remaining. Despite how the graph looks, we actually did really good. A lot of these ended up being wishes that just kept getting added to the back, which you didn't really expect to get to.
As for what went right, the gameplay was really great, and a lot of people really wanted to build for the game, so we sent out multiple of those. We also had some great weapon and ability progression as well. Team communication was really great, so everyone was very honest with each other, and everyone really talked to each other a lot if something was needed or something was wrong. Well, my favorite at least was the character models. So these character models, like you look at them, you see them chasing you, and you're like, oh man, I want to kill that. So I had some fun character models and animations, and those are all some great things that went right. As for what went wrong, I would say the creative process was my biggest issue because at the beginning of this game, I did not want to be a designer and I did not have very much motivation. As I went on, I did want to be a designer and I was having a lot of fun. So one of the biggest things was that I didn't know what I wanted the game to look like originally. I need a better work ethic, so I stayed at school and went to the library a lot, and it made me feel much better about actually doing my work. I was able to focus more and I had a lot more peers to help. And then also we needed more organization. So I needed to update the GDD a lot more. We needed more Discord channels for different topics, and we needed to update the sheets files and data tables a lot more compared to how they were in the game. And that's it. What I learned is that development is a tough job, and I was right to be intimidated after doing it twice. But once I learned it, I felt like I started to love it, especially once I got all the ideas down and everyone knew what to do. Front loading design ideas and loading up the GDG and data sheets is definitely something important to do from the beginning so that everyone can reasonably and reliably get work done, especially when everyone knows exactly what to do. As well, having a place where I could just focus on work is really important for mental health and focus. It made it way easier for me to do work, and I was way more motivated when I was at the library instead of doing work at home.
The biggest thing that went right was communication. It allowed us to talk very fast and communicate and get our ideas, or if we had any problems, it would get all of them resolved very fast. The big thing for me was the way the final level looked. I really liked the design, and I really liked that I took the time to redo the lighting very last second. And as a team, we were able to avoid crunch, which was very nice. We weren't stressed out towards the end, and we were all in a good space. The main thing that went wrong was not prioritizing early enough, which then caused work to get done that wasn't supposed to be done, or it wasn't used in the game, and the game idea changed also messed me up a little bit. And me personally, I did not dedicate enough time to level design, so the final level isn't as complete as we kind of wished it to be. And for next time, I need to plan more early. I need to use the GDD to create a base game to work from there so we don't have to do extra work that might get wasted. And I need to focus on the necessities first instead of doing extra stuff that may or may not even make it in the game.
Hello, I'm Sean Gibson. I was one of the programmers on this project. To start off with the things that went right this semester, this project provided me with a really great opportunity to learn about Unreal's built-in character AI tools. I learned a lot about things like behavior trees, AI controllers, and the environment query system, and I've become a better programmer because of it. Another thing I learned a lot about this semester was Niagara particles. The blood splatter in particular required me to use particle materials, hit events, and decal components in order to draw these little nice ribbons and paint the environment with these decals. This one was really satisfying to work on. Oh, sorry. And I put a lot of time into it. Next up, this muzzle flash particle. I had to learn how to use an animated sprite sheet to create this like little flash effect. And that's been very nice. Finally, the last thing that went really well was that I wanted to talk about was using Git. Over this project, I learned how to use merge commits to make sure my branch is always up to date with main, preventing merge conflicts, as well as how to amend commits when I make a mistake, or exclude certain files from being pushed to the remote, so that way I can change my mind without causing a merge conflict. Next up, one major area where I went wrong was not carefully considering the performance impact of my features. Here we have a graph of the amount of time it's taking to render each frame, and these spikes are all when a lot of enemies die at once, meaning that the blood splatter particles were taking a significant chunk out of our performance. I didn't notice this during my own testing because I was only respawning in one enemy and shooting it. I failed to consider that during gameplay, dozens of these enemies could be active at once, and a player would have to be killing many of them at a time. Another area that I could improve upon was the way I set up animations. Unlike with AI and Niagara, I didn't properly take the time to learn and understand Unreal's animation systems, and in the end that did cause some difficulty when we needed some more advanced animation behavior from our enemies. If I could do it again, I'd like to spend more time teaching myself how to use animation blueprints like I did with Niagara and with the Unreal AI things.
Hello, I am Els Fouché. This is the postmortem for Kill Everything as Fast as Possible. What went wrong? Our level was initially designed with a boomer shooter in mind. However, following changes to the enemy AI It left the player in a constant state of backpedaling to avoid them. We had a little bit of a priority issue with regards to what we focused on. Instead of adding more guns, we should have done more to improve the level. We also did not actually have a way to end the game. This meant that our final wave just spawns 1,000 of every enemy, almost certainly causing the game to crash, similar to Pac-Man's kill screen. What went right? We had a significant number of features in this game. All of them had a significant amount of polish. Players really enjoyed the different ways they could play the game. There were near zero issues on our GitHub as well. We had clean code, clean merges. The only issues we encountered were minor and could be resolved very quickly. And of course, the game is fun. We had a great time making it, and players seemed to really respond to the gameplay. Some of my biggest takeaways from this project were definitely figuring out Unreal's insights. Being able to actually profile the performance of the game in real time and seeing what's causing lag was a huge thing for me. Actually made me feel like a real programmer for once. I was also able to practice a lot of inter-object communication patterns, which is great. It gave me some real-world experience with different ways to get things to talk to one another. I feel a lot more confident about getting things to work the way I want them to when I'm building an architecture. This did also expose a bad habit of mine, which is to build monolithic objects. If you look at the image here, this is a huge set of code which exists entirely inside the player for its logic, and is a serious bad habit of mine, something I intend to work on in the future.
Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm a 2D artist. So what went right? Some things that went right were the fact that I did UI for the first time for games, and I think everything turned out really well. I also learned a lot about Photoshop and a lot of shortcuts, and I think we also had really good communication throughout the sprints. Some things that went wrong were perspective. I went out of my comfort zone and wanted to try to do perspective for the poster and some other icons, but it just didn't work out. It was a lot of time voided just redoing things. And just constant adjustments, constant, just minor tweaks of things that should have been done and did not need to be kicked back. And for next time, I think I'd want to write down my editing process. A lot of the stuff in Photoshop, there were lots of micro steps that eventually threw off my art with like minor things, like seen on the right side, just inconsistent colors, and just being vocal about asking for reference.
Hi, this is Dylan Brown, the 3D artist, and what I think went right for the project was pixelating the textures. We streamlined the process, it felt good. I liked the cards that were assigned to me. I thought doing all the guns for our game was really fun, kept me motivated. And I also thought, speaking of motivation, that the group motivation and communication was really good overall, which made it feel more like a passion project or more less than a required assignment. What went wrong was my early UVs weren't that great, so I had to redo them, which put strain on the team. Occasionally I wouldn't get the right cards, so I just let the producer know and it wasn't a big deal. And the speed at which I completed work wasn't the most consistent or as consistent as it should have been. Next time, first off, what did I learn? I learned how to model UV and texture like a whole lot better. Pushing myself to do these complicated models, I think maybe better for it. Next time, I'd prioritize front loading because I say this every term, but always something I could work on, just doing my work sooner. And doing that would relieve stress and, again, make me more consistent. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So, I'm Ryan. I'm one of the 3D artists, and today I'm going to talk about what went right, what went wrong, and what I learned throughout the process of me being a 3D artist with kill everything as fast as possible. So, starting off with the things that went right, I think for me, the modular asset system worked really well. Trims, pillars, and corners all snapped together. I think the modular approach was very solid for our game. Second thing is the pixelated textures. I think they came out pretty good. We wanted to keep the game fast, so the textures needed to be readable. The third that I think went right was the props. All the props like the light poles, the pipes, the barrels, they all added to the overall look of the arena. Now I'm gonna move on to the things that I think went wrong, or could have been done differently. Some of the assets that I was talking about needed to be redone multiple times. Um, for example, the pipes you see here, I started off with not a pixelated texture, and that's when we realized we needed pixelated textures. So we had to move on to that to remove. Rigging was good, but it took a long time and was only used once. I had to learn how to rig for this project, but we only used the animation once on one character, so um, I had to keep that in mind. Also, being more present in group meetings outside of class. I think my communication with my team was decent, but I didn't meet with them in group meetings outside of class, and next time I would have done that differently. What did I learn? Like I said before, how readable something is at high speed matters way more than how detailed it looks up close, especially for our game. We were going for a fast shooter, so we needed to keep these assets readable from a distance. Assets, we needed to test them in game earlier, so to remove any problems, any bugs that could occur with them. So for next time, I would definitely start testing props and assets way earlier into the design pipeline. Modular design saved a ton of time, and it's something I'd lean into even harder from day one next time. Like I said before, modular design helped us very, very much because it saved us a lot of time, and with a couple of pieces, you can do so much.
Next time, we need to plan the GDD earlier, which means having the game planned from the start, or at least what is needed. We need more ALR sheets to get specific with our mechanics. We need an art style guide to help out our 2D and 3D artists all make similar textures. We need to prioritize bedroom earlier, so we're making important stuff at the start and not potentially wasting work. And we need to get art in the game earlier so we can fix problems that will crop up when.
So, as for what we would do again, GitHub had a great system which caused very, very few merge conflicts that else put together. So communication was very constant and useful. So everyone was very communicative. Everyone asked for feedback, and everyone was just overall very communicative, which made the game way easier to develop, especially if someone needed something from someone else. The consistency of work was great. So work was pretty steady throughout the sprints. We got a lot more done towards the end, but a lot of our work did come out very high quality. So the other, I think this is my favorite one, was the lack of cramming. So none of us crammed at all. Once it came to turning in our final build, we weren't extremely stressed, feeling like, oh man, this stuff is not going to be able to get in. But we got everything that we pretty much wanted into the game, and we had our team spirits high. And by the end of the game, that everyone was happy and would be willing to do it again. As well, the last thing were the data tables. So they were easy adjustments for me, where I don't have to go into Unreal and fix things, and I could just send it over to my programmers, and then they could get everything done. An award for this, so that's definitely something that we would want to do again as well. All right, and thank you for listening to our presentation. Please play Kill Everything as fast as possible, and thanks for killing.